We're okay. Welcome to That's Good Broncos. I am Brandon. The only reason Vic Fangio had to save those timeouts was because it was dangerously past his bedtime. Perna. He wanted to get back to the assisted living facility before they locked the doors. Okay, guys? The Broncos, they lost in horrific, heart-wrenching fashion, and that's literally the only thing about this year that feels like a carryover from 2019. So thanks, Broncos. There were a few positives from this game, but it's hard to give a shit about those when your team finds another creative and traumatic way to lose it, falling 16-14 to a Tennessee team who apparently hadn't won a game in Denver in 33 years, dating back to when they were the Oilers. Now, thankfully, there were only 500 actual human fans at the game to witness that debacle in person. But I'm hearing that a lot of those cardboard cutouts got turned around so they didn't have to see the shit show that was the Broncos' clock management at the end of the game. Today, I will tell you why you shouldn't be too worried about the Broncos and why Vic Fangio is still an aight coach, even though Monday night he was the worst clock worker since Flavor Flav or since this guy. Whew. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel for extra Broncos content. Subscribe to the That's Good Broncos YouTube channel. And now you can download the That's Good Broncos podcast, partnered with DNVR. Big announcement. And I do have Patreon shoutouts, so I will do those in a second. But I wanted to tell you, with Patreon, you now get a weekly NFL prediction video from Will Keys and I for all $5 donors. That's a massive increase from the monthly videos we offered before. So I'm thinking about possibly adding a monthly Zoom happy hour, but I'm trying to figure out if I can fit that into my schedule now that a baby is consuming all the extra time I have these days. Patreon, big dick shoutouts for My Wife Stole My Lawnmower 3.0, Corey Randall, collab with Chiseled Adonis for Steelers versus Broncos week. Upping to $10 there. I'll think about that. Bill, upping to $15. Hoosier Vampire, Slade Von Miller. Trevor, my liver is going to be mad at me by the end of the season, Price. Neil Andrews. Brandon, For the Brand, Perna. Corbin, Tillman, Dick, upping to $10.20. David, Carpenter, and Modern Nerd Entertainment. Patreon.com/thatsgoodsports. You know what to do. Give me your fucking money. Give me your money. Give it to me. Not cocaine, boogers. All right, here's a stat that will make you scratch your head. From Andrew Mason. During Vic Fangio's 17 games as Broncos head coach, his team has allowed fewer than 17.6 times. That's the second most in the league behind the Buffalo Bills. But the Broncos have also lost 3 of those games, the most of any NFL team in that span. What does that mean? What does that tell you? It says that until the Broncos offense starts scoring more points, which I think they will, but until then, we will be waiting until the final 30 seconds of every GD game to see whether or not this team is going to win or lose in horrendous fashion by 2 points. 16 is also a cursed number for Denver right now. I implore you to all stop using that number, even if it ruins your credit score. 16-14 was the final score of this game, and in the Bears game last year, in a terrible loss, 16-14. 16 was the number of points the Broncos scored in weeks 1 and 3 last year in losses, so I fucking hate that number. It represents when Americans can drive, and yet it never feels like the Broncos are in the driver's seat. This was Jerry Jeudy before the game on Melvin Gordon's Instagram. Which forces me to ask a very difficult question. Who has a more serious medical condition, Jerry Jeudy or osteoporosis bus driver? I'd say based on his 2 huge drops, Jeudy. Now, I'm not too worried about Jeudy's 2 drops. He did have 5 in his final season at Alabama, and that was kind of his biggest knock entering the draft. losing concentration on catchable balls across the middle. So we saw that happen. I think he will improve, though, as an NFLer because I think he has the right mental makeup. So don't write him off just yet. I shouldn't have to say that after one game from a rookie. Now, the Broncos offense will improve with more reps, with Cortland Sutton back in the lineup, with the addition of KJ Hamler and Albert O once they get healthy, and hopefully with a healthy Phillip Lindsay, pending the most mysterious injury in all sports, turf toe, which Lindsay got in this game. So yes, Lindsay goes down in this game, and so did corner AJ Bouye. Because God knows the Broncos haven't been fucked by injuries enough since they decided to build their new training facility on top of an ancient Indian burial ground. Wait, I'm sorry, I meant an ancient football team burial ground. Titans kicker Stephen Gostkowski, who Bill Belichick knew was done, missed his first field goal attempt from 47 yards right after Steve Levy called him a future Hall of Famer. There are announcer jinxes, and then there are announcer curses. And the one Steve Levy put on Gostkowski would last almost the whole game. Emphasis on almost. Now, Gostkowski's misses dropped him from being the 5th most accurate kicker of all time down to 8th. Ouch. I do applaud Jake Butt, who worked his tail off to get back onto the field so he could trick Rashaan Evans into punching him in the face mask. Knowing that Mike Evans was not ejected for exactly the same thing, I don't agree with the ejection, but I fully support any player on the opposing team getting booted when they play the Broncos. New rule, suck it Bill Maher, if you punch another player in the face mask, you should not be ejected. You should be forced to play the rest of the game with the punching hand tied behind your back. I think that would be more interesting. Drew Lock went 4 of 4 on the first scoring drive, moved out of the pocket, found Jerry Jeudy, and just looked like a real NFL QB. Plus, he finished the drive with a cross-body, beautiful touchdown throw. They say you shouldn't do that as a quarterback, but guess what? They say you shouldn't stare at the sun either. But how else are you supposed to know the sun is there? Take the liberal media weatherman's word for it? I don't think so. Now, Drew Lock dug the Broncos out of a hole, only to see Melvin Gordon fumble away the ball to give the Titans the rock at the 23. Phillip Lindsay still has 0 career fumbles. Gordon has 5 in his last 13 games. So that might be a problem. If I could erase one play, it would be the Melvin Gordon fumble. Fangio can keep all of his fucking timeouts because without that gaffe, I don't think the Titans scored any first half points. That was followed by a Draymond Jones offsides on 3rd and 5 to propel the Titans to a 3rd and 1 with Derrick Henry in the backfield, which is like using a 12-gauge shotgun to put down your house cat. Both illegal and messy, but it succeeds 99% of the time. Ryan Tannehill tossed a touchdown pass to Michael Pruitt. Michael spelled M-Y-C-O-L-E. Phonetically, it actually makes a lot more sense than Mich-A-L, but I don't like the fact that it sounds like somebody owns a guy named Cole. The best named Titan, though, is Blazin' Game. That guy should be playing in Colorado, considering Tennessee still oppresses its citizens with illegal weed. His Blazin' Game is weak as hell right now in Tennessee. Drew Lock orchestrated another nice drive before the half ended, mostly fueled by Noah Fant. A lot of people would blame Drew Lock for this throw right here and the miss to Nick Vannett. But I blame Nick Vannett for being born slow and white. Any athletic tight end would have caught that for a touchdown. Vic Fangio, of course, goes for it on 4th and goal. The Broncos run some dumb shovel pass that I would have called some brilliant shovel pass had it worked. Jeffrey Simmons blew up Butt on the spot of the catch and then flexed so hard in his own praise he may have blew out his own butt. AJ Bouye ended up dislocating his shoulder, defending a pass to Corey Davis, and trainers had to pop it back into place. I think as soon as my body was being treated like an action figure, I would call it a career, but Bouye was tough and doing a pretty good job prior to getting injured. The Titans kicked a field goal to go into halftime, is what I would have said had Shelby Harris not blocked another kick. Before Shelby Harris came around, I didn't know it was possible for a defensive lineman to be clutch. But oh boy, did Shelby prove me wrong. He's like if John Elway had his hand in the dirt on every play. I love you, Shelby Harris. The That's Good Broncos halftime show is officially presented by Ron Perlman playing a linebacker built John Elway in an animated portrayal of what happens when 5 premier athletes cram into a new Ford Bronco as they prepare for a long, mysterious road trip that will only bring them closer together. Until a drunk driving Drew Lock accidentally runs over and kills Woody from Toy Story. They bury the body in the Utah wilderness as a dark secret only Perlman Elway knows about, which then leverages him to keep them all in Denver playing forever at half the price of all other elite NFL athletes. It's a story as old as time, told by Pixar, coming out 2021. Again, I liked rookie O.J. Mudia at corner. He had an interception negated by an unnecessary roughness penalty from Alexander Johnson and was labeled as hitting a player out of the play, which I didn't realize was a penalty. ESPN did not show the replay of the penalty, so I'm just going to assume I would have agreed with the call and happily accepted the 15 yards levied against my team. Linebacker Josie Jewell channeled his inner Steve Atwater and absolutely trucked Derrick Henry. Like the Broncos scoring more than 20 points, you do not see Henry falling backwards very often. So shout out to Josie Jewell, even though he got flagged for a face mask. If you're gonna do it all the way. As soon as your hand touches those crossbars, it's 15 yards, so rip that fucker off like a Band-Aid. Jeremy McNichols continued to run without a helmet on until he put 2 and 2 together and realized taking a shot to the head without a helmet is why Jason Witten now says things like pulling a rabbit out of your head. Oh, remember that? Jeffrey Simmons, now on my shit list, tells Jerry Jeudy to on the drop. And personally, I think they should have thrown a flag on Simmons for being a big meanie if they flagged Alexander Johnson for essentially bullying the biggest kid on the playground. A desperate Tennessee team chipped away at a tired Broncos defense until they eventually got Jonnu Smith a touchdown on a 4th and goal. It seemed inevitable that they would score after back-to-back 3-and-outs from the Broncos. The Broncos only had 3 yards of offense in the 3rd quarter. But I was almost okay with this lead-taking touchdown because Gostkowski missed the PAT. Had the Broncos done anything in the 3rd quarter, they could have won. Hell, right before halftime, had they let McManus attempt that 75-yard field goal, they might have won. Eventually, in the 4th, Melvin Gordon broke off a 25-yard gain, giving Denver their first down of the 2nd half, followed by a 21-yard gain by Jerry Jeudy, who is actually faster and jukier than I thought. Rolls-Royce Freeman took the Broncos down to the 1-yard line, and Melvin Gordon finished the drive with a 1-yard tutty run to put the Broncos up 14-13. Now, we knew this was going to happen. Naturally, the game would come down to Gostkowski after missing 4 kicks. And yes, he made the game winner. So now that he hit a 10-yard field goal, it cancels out all of the ones he shanked before, right? That's a good lesson for all of you kids out there. Do not start trying until it matters. Skip class, but show up for the finals. Tennessee churned out a 13-play, 90-yard drive that started with 3:05 left in the game, which didn't have a single 3rd down conversion. Why Fangio didn't use any of his 3 timeouts when Tennessee was closing in on the goal line will remain a mystery. A mystery we will have to forget about. The Broncos got the ball back with almost as many timeouts as there were seconds on the clock, but couldn't get into field goal range to give the Gooch Master a chance to win it. So they start 0-1 on the 2020 season. Now, in this game, I counted 5 game-changing mistakes by Drew Lock, 2 fumbled snaps, 2 misses, and the invisible Hamilton. There was 1 mistake by Gordon, that fumble, and 2 drops by Jeudy, the big one in the 4th. Jeudy's drop on the Broncos' final drive is the other play I would erase. That was equally devastating to the Broncos' chances of winning this game. Remove 1 or 2 of those mistakes, which is doable. It is very doable, and Denver wins. So I just hope that I'm not saying the same fucking shit in 3 weeks. I know it's a young team. They need some time to gel. I believe they will gel, but it's been a rough year, and we needed a win here in Denver. But please subscribe here on YouTube. Both of my YouTube channels, whichever one, both of them. I don't really give a shit anymore. I'm really, really struggling to be optimistic. I talked way too much shit in this game on Twitter for the Broncos to lose like that.